NFL on the Run podcast. The project is co-financed by the European Union.
Hello, I'm Mara Arvai from Hungary. I'm representing JOPA, Youth for Participation Association from Szeged. This episode now, we will speak about civic responsibility, how we can support young people to become more active citizens in local level through our different activities representing different fields. I have two really nice guests today as well, one of them from Hungary and the other one from Germany, and they are representing two absolutely different organizations from different fields. May I ask you to introduce yourself?
Hi, Mara. Thank you for having me. I'm Matthias. I'm representing Jugendkulturarbeit from Oldenburg, Germany. You can translate it to cultural youth work, the name of our organization. And that's also our program because we have a lot of theater groups. We are doing a lot of international youth work. And my field is the civic education and political education in the house.
So you are a really expert then in our topic. Thank you, Matthias.
Hi.
Esther, some words about yourself and your organization, please.
Hi, and thank you for inviting me. I'm Esther Kovács from Szeged, Hungary, and I'm representing the Martial Arts Association. I'm the leader of it, and I would like to give a martial artist point of view about civic responsibility.
Oh, thank you. I think this will be really exciting as well to listen that how you work with this topic from this area. Civic responsibility. It sounds like magic words and it's a very important one nowadays. How we engage young people, how we engage to the local activities, how we support them to feel that they belong to our societies, that they can be a real member, valued member for our societies, and what they can do for their local communities because they have rights and they have a duty to do important things for the local community as citizens. If I can ask you, Matthias, just to share that, what is the approach of your organization? Mm-hmm. What you mean when we are speaking about civic responsibility?
Yeah, thank you. In the beginning, I want to share my experience when I talk with people from different countries in Europe, because I think the term civic responsibility is not so easily translated in any language, and so we have already difficulties to understand what it's meant by that. So I want to break it down and say basically everything is political. What I mean with this sentence is that the political world is not something apart from us, but it's affecting us in our daily life. And it's not only the politics, the election, the government, the politics, but it's everywhere. So we can attack this civic education or the civic responsibility in every way of our life. And basically it's just about the role we have, or young people have in society, and that we enable them to critically think about their place in the community, in their family, with their friends. So we can start from the bottom and then we can go up. And I always like to say my main aim in my educational work is to have a good living or to living well for me, for you and for everyone here and globally. And there are so many hurdles and so many barriers. And I think it will take a lot of time to get to this place of good living for everyone, but we can reflect on what we need to go there. So you already mentioned many crises and the ecological and discrimination and things like that. We can discuss, we can reflect about our privileges, about society, about the democratic rights, how good it is to live in a democracy and what we can do to get to good human rights for everyone. So what is human rights, to discuss this, and also about the values we want to share with others and to have a good life.
Thank you, Matthias. May I ask you just to share with us a good case study or a great story example from your daily work with young people, how you can support them through this, to understand this approach and to belong to this approach, to practice this one?
So as organization, we are doing a lot of theatrical work with young people, and we are not doing it to educate them to be a good actor or to make nice plays, but to have this method to reflect on society, to engage critical thinking. So one nice method it's called still image or statues. So imagine you have a movie and then press on the pause button, and then it's freezed image or a still image. And that's one thing we are trying to take as method to say to the young people, okay, imagine a situation, for example, like when you get discriminated in daily life, and think about one situation, and you are 5 people and build a still to show the others this situation. And by that way, you take the bodies of the young people, or they take themselves, their own bodies to present the situation. So you don't need words in the beginning to talk about it, but you invite them in an embodied way to talk about it. And then you can discuss later, but it's more easy to get the start of a discussion. And it's not in the beginning of arguments and the right position, but their own perspectives and their own experiences.
I was wondering if you can share such type of successful stories that a group of young people were able to make some change or improvement in the local community where they live after or meanwhile participating in your activities.
There are many stories, but I think in the first place I want to talk about personal development, because the civic education is also about to be a good local citizen, but also a good EU citizen or even more a global citizen. And for that, you need the personal development. And it's always nice to see how people open up, even people who are not so good in speaking, through the theatrical work or to the work with movements. And they are getting to the point where they are not so shy anymore and more courageous. And yeah, but I think the benefit from this work is exactly that. It's not about teaching them the right arguments. It's more about getting their own perspectives out and the critical thinking. And there are many different methods we can talk about, but we will have them on our website and in the indicational cards. I can mention perhaps one another. In German, it's called Emotionskochtopf. So it's not so easy to translate. It could be emotional cooking pot or emotion pressure cooker. It's a nice method. We didn't invent it, but you will see it on the website, the method. But it's a nice thing because it's again not talking about political positions in the first place, but about talking about your emotions regarding a social struggle or any difficult struggle. So because we are not only our arguments and our cognition, but we are our political views depending on our feelings. So if we trying to begin the discussion with emotions and invite the young people to talk about what they feel about, it could be a war or about the climate change or whatever, we can not only teach the political implications, but also the fear they have. And it opens up really nice discussions. And it's also connected to emotional intelligence. So I like to take emotional wheels. There are different kinds of. It's basically a nice vocabulary thing where you can also learn talking about your emotions in a detailed way. It's not joy, it's, you can say it's excitement. So they also learn about talking about that and how it's connected to your political understanding and views.
I think it was very important what you have just shared right now, because I believe that political participation is a lot of times built on the emotions of people, and the democratic processes is really focusing really consciously on emotions of people, that how they react on different messages and how they react on different views. And it's all belong to our humanity as well, and our instinct and our fears, our happiness. So I think this is really important what you are doing then in your youth work. Definitely that you support young people to understand, on the one hand, that how this works in politics as well. And on the other hand, how I understood that you provide them possibility to be in the shoes even of different people and like exploring their feelings, emotions in these different situations. Mm-hmm. It's really, really interesting methods you shared, and making this link to emotional intelligence. It is really important to be aware of that when we are speaking about participation, local political or global political participation. It goes hand by hand with emotions and how we are aware of that.
It's about creating better societies, and to do that we need to talk and not to convince the other person about my rights, views, but also to have the understanding, the empathetic for the other person. So it's important to talk about feelings and political views.
Thank you very much, Matthias.
Thank you.
Eszter, As a sport organization, how do you support young people? How do you engage young people to be active in Szeged here in the local society?
We have more examples for it. But first, let me explain the name of our association because it's very closely connected to our teaching program. Wuda is a Chinese term which means martial virtues. And it's basically very similar to the samurai virtues or the chivalric virtues. It's like persistence or loyalty or trustworthiness or humbleness or kindness or courage. So there are a lot of virtues. And our teaching system is based on not only the physical part of Kung Fu, like techniques or tactics, but we have a really deep theoretical background and we pay attention to the personality development. So we have a grading system where students need to pass an exam on these 3 levels. So the physical level, the theory part, and we also have this personality development. For each level, there is one virtue, one value that they need to focus on. And when it's, for example, the courage, being brave, we teach them, we give them examples how to be brave. And it's not only in Kung Fu class, but obviously it's for the rest of their lives or the rest of their days. And before each training, we talk and we listen to the students. We share our experiences and our own stories. And for example, with being brave, it's an example that when you travel on the tram and there's an elderly lady and you should give the seat and maybe you stand up, but you don't dare to say that, hey, there is a seat and please sit down and both of you are standing and be brave to start a conversation, be brave to help. And it's not only just we say why being brave is important, but through these tiny examples, they get to know how to apply these virtues in their everyday lives. Another nice example is what appears in the family. For example, when we have summer camps, we teach the kids when they take off their shoes, they shouldn't throw them in 2 different directions, but they should put them next to each other. And after, for example, it happened many times that the parents told me after some days that, okay, the kids are usually very tired, of course, due to the many trainings we have in the camps, but they also recognize something that the shoes are next to each other. Have I said anything about this? And yes, and it's through our examples. And I really like it that the students, the kids or the young adults, they take their role models from us, from the masters, from the higher graded students, and not from the media, which is very common nowadays that they have a celebrity and they want to be similar to that person, but they look at our behavior, our examples, and this is what they start to follow and do at home. So we can see small changes in the family, or they start to, another example, they start to talk nicer, not that loud, not shouting when they are angry, and they learn how to deal with their emotions. And we have different techniques with this, but actually in itself, practicing Kung Fu helps us to gain our inner peace. And when we have, for example, the form in the beginning of the trainings, when we pay attention to our breathing, we pay attention to not think about anything else, just the technique, and we slow down. And with this, we start to have a different mindset about how to behave. We start to have a different rhythm, maybe, and people around us can feel it. So this is one thing, but what civic responsibility also involves, I think, is the charity we do. And we always make it visible. On our website, people can see what we do from year to year. And for example, we were helping elderly in nursing homes or in retirement homes to learn breathing exercises, relaxing exercises, and they really enjoyed that they did something Oriental, something Chinese and Japanese with us. And we were also, for example, donating books for the local library, books about not using too many electronic devices for kids. It's not being addicted to the mobile phones. And the local library didn't have these books, so we were donating them these because it was, I think, really useful for the kids to be able to read these. We were also collecting money and donating for example, nursery school, the clinics, the pediatric clinics, so other foundations or animal shelter. And it's 80% our students or our community. We are around 200 people now in Szeged practicing Kung Fu, including kids and adults. But the rest, the other 20%, is usually the parents, the relatives who also hear about our charities or read on the websites like what we are collecting money for at present. Sometimes we have also programs for clearing the environment in the neighborhood. And I could see also that kids learned how to pick up the litter. And later on, when they saw the litter on the street, they picked it up, even when we didn't have it as a program for that day. But they took the message that it's important to have a nice and clean street around us. So this is also, I think, quite in connection with civic responsibility.
Thank you, Esther. Your organization really focus on, how I understood well, then supporting young people to be responsible for each other, to be responsible for their local community, like being a part of the local community of Szeged in such a way that supporting people who have the need for support and really taking care of our environment, supporting each other just to live in a city which is livable, where people are supporting each other, respecting each other. I think this is a very important part of civic responsibility, how responsible we are for each other and how responsible we are for the local community but where we live in, because each city shows what type of people are living there and what are the values, what the people, the locals represent, what are the values that the locals are living with and expressing. So that was really nice examples. Thank you very much. And it was really interesting to listen, both of you, because then Matthias really presented a political participation point of view, which in the same time, I strongly believe that it really went hand by hand with the different way of thinkings and methods that you have shared. I'm just really curious now. Did you learn anything from each other, from your organizations? Because Esther is representing a really, really special Kung Fu organization, and then Matthias is representing a really strong youth organization. Is there any methods, approach, tools, what you believe that it could be interesting to try out or to use in your daily work with young people?
Yes, of course. I would check Matthias's website for the specific examples. And he had I think, a much broader approach to how I understood civic responsibility. And this new idea also gave me new thoughts about what else can we do for our community, the local communities, like what we can do for our city. So thank you, Matthias, for the ideas.
You're welcome. And I was impressed to learn about Kung Fu, that it's not about only the techniques, but there is more that you teach the virtues and to see the thing I mentioned at the beginning, that everything is political, that there are so many political or civic educational things in Kung Fu, and it's nice to see that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the discussion.
Thank you.